Hey, everyone. Wait a little bit and see if someone else is going to join us. Well, to some people who are new and having a wonderful night. Hey, Paige. Wait for Shannon. Shannon's supposed to join me tonight. So I had a wonderful week. I spent most of my week in San Diego. Mm. Oh, so my audio's messed up. Let's see. Mic check that. Give me a second, you guys. See how this is gonna sound. Let's see. Is that better? Is the mic better? Hey, Christine. Christine, can you hear me okay? Is my audio okay? It's low. Okay. Let's see if I can turn it up a little bit. Go to here. Well, I will just talk louder. Better? All right, cool. All right. So tonight, my topic is Black men. I see your damage. So Black men, I see your damage. And before I jump off into this topic, please pause for a second, like and subscribe, and so you could know when I go live. Also, hit the notification button, and yeah, things will be all good. So let's see. Shano is in the building. All right.
Hold on for a second.
Sure. All right. So
I
again,
had to get away. I had to get away from the bar because there's music playing in the background. Um, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Dave said, "Black men, I see you, see you broke. You mean broke meaning money wise? Is that what you mean?" Um,
No, I
hey,
said get
Danny.
away from the bar.
Yeah, I heard you, Shano. I heard you, Shano. All right. So one more time. The topic is Black men. I see your damage. Now I'm gonna explain my explain why I chose this topic. Um, and so, hey, Shano. So, I love talking about relationships, not even connected to the YouTube thing, off the YouTube thing, and just kind of analyzing, especially analyzing why, it's hard for Black men and Black women to to get it together, you know. And I try to even though I check Black men, I try to check Black women too. I know there's a lot of channels out here that only talk about the Black man and don't really talk about any improvement the Black woman need to make. And we're
No, I'm
absolutely
actually sober, Paige.
Shannon said he's sober. So I try to keep the balance, you know. Now I will have to say one person that I do listen to on YouTube that when I first hit her channel, I was kind of like, a lot of things she was saying I liked, but a lot of things she was saying I was like, you know, I'm not really digging it. But the more I listen, I'm like, this is what Black women talk about, but we just don't talk about it on YouTube. We talk about it behind closed doors. And now I also will give this disclosure. When I talk about Black men, I am not talking about all Black men. When I talk about Black women, I'm not talking about all Black women. So let's get that out the way, because I know people are going to be in the comment section if they watch this later on and going to be like, not all Black men, not all Black women. Yes, I know that. I understand that. I'm just talking my experience and sharing other women's voices that I have talked to over my years on this earth. So the person that I have been listening to, Cynthia G. Cynthia G, if anybody's interested in her perspective on the Black woman, and the Black woman's position in society, please go to Cynthia G's page. Excuse me. So, the damage of a Black man. So, I'm trying to think how to start this. So, I've noticed, and it's not a secret, I have dated non-Black men. I mean, I have a book called A White Man's Whore that can be found on Amazon. Excuse me, you guys. And so I have this experience of not just dating Black men, but dating other men too. So excuse me if I compare, not to offend anyone, but I really don't really care. It's my experience. So again, me kind of analyzing between the relationship between Black women and Black men. I noticed that a lot of Black men, again, not all, they are emotionally immature. And it's very hard to self-reflect. And also the brokenness. And again, I think once you hit a certain point of your life and been out there dating, been married, maybe have been divorced or whatever, you collect some kind of baggage, some kind of damage. What I have seen, and when I've been talking to Black women, one thing about in our community, especially with Black men, is they don't go to therapy. And like I said, a lot of us have damage and triggers from past relationships, and we don't talk about it. And I have not ran into any Black men that I have dated that have ever talked about, like, hey, this happened to me when I was 5. This happened to me when I was 12. So if I act out in this particular way, it's because of my past trauma. So imagine this as a person getting with someone and trying to, get a partnership or trying to date a person, and a woman, Black woman, dating a Black man. And just say, I'm putting this scenario, just say the Black woman is in tune with herself. And she's had a few things happen in life that has kind of put a little scar on her. And she tells the Black man about it. And the Black man knows he has a past too, but he won't dare tell her. So you have one person who's trying to let their partner know, hey, if I get a little jealous, it's because, damn, my last 3 boyfriends cheated on me. Maybe even got a woman pregnant. So excuse me if I kind of, get a little jealous or a little insecure. But then you have the man on the other end where I came in perfect, knowing he didn't. But then when he acts out, the woman can't figure out why is he acting this way. I truly believe that when 2 people get together and they both have trauma, I believe if you pair yourself with the right person, Not saying this person should take all of your weight, all of your weight of your past. But if you're really with someone and you love that person, there's certain parts of them that maybe not healed or scarred where your partner should be a little more sensitive. And I just noticed black men don't talk about that. They don't talk about, I have male guy friends that I have had over the years, and they're open with me. I've had male guy friends tell me how they've been molested as a boy, maybe had a mother that wasn't the kindest to them, just telling me their history. And, but like I said, I've never had a partner to tell me. And I think that's vital because I've been with, black men where, again, they have this behavior, a negative behavior that I don't really like. And I can't pinpoint why they're doing what they're doing. I'm assuming it's something that happened in their past. But because they're not open, I can't even begin to be lenient on the behavior. Talking about stuff is healing too. Talking about it. I know someone who
Can I cut in for a second?
Oh yeah. I thought you were still doing what you do. Go ahead.
My thing is, you are absolutely right. We do need counseling, especially young black men that's been raised in single home parent. When they father, anytime that a child grew up separated from his other parent and and became an adult, 9 times out of 10 needs counseling because it's something that child is missing. And sometimes we'll still feel that same feeling, not to get south the point, as of today. Because we watch our parents. That's our first thing we learned in relationships was through our parents. And it's a lot of us need counseling for the ones that grew up in single home parents. So yes, I do agree, but and not against you, but it seems it always come from the women that say we need counseling, need them themselves. Because if you spot it, that means you got it. You remember that old saying in that room?
Yeah.
I mean, only reason why I'm speaking like this, I'm basically talking about myself.
Okay.
Because I mean, we can sit up and justify and bullshit, eradicate each all day long. But it ain't gonna hit the heart. It ain't gonna hit the heart until you really speak through your own experience, because you shouldn't be surprised that you ain't the only one fit them shoes. It's a lot of shoes familiar. I'm up. Think about it. Everybody want to wear Jordans, huh?
So I hear what you're saying. Real quick, Christine in the chat was talking about the code, and that there's 200 questions that you ask each other before going into a relationship. I have experience with that, Christine. I'm gonna go back to you,
200
Shannon.
questions. That's like two. That's like asking 2 questions to me. You're in a relationship. You never ever stop asking questions.
Wait, so hold on, Shannon. So what she's saying, because I'm familiar with this. I read and ran into. I think they call them codified people.
Okay,
So
before you go hard, I gotta be on here for 5 minutes because I'm not in the right place. I'm not at home. I'm out, so I can't really hold you up because I can't be rude to the. I guess they making me the host of the whatever. But yes, go ahead.
Okay, so basically, in the book called The Code, there's 200 questions that your partner and you answer truthfully before you engage in sex, before you get into a relationship, to find out. And they ask questions like, "Have you been sexually abused? Have you slept with a white person?" And Christine, if I'm hitting it on the head, let me know. So they ask you questions to get familiar with your partner. Now, Christine, I dated someone who was a
Getting
codified.
familiar and having a connection with your partner is the same thing, or is that different?
Well, this is something, I mean, you still can have the connection, but it's just to get the question, a lot of questions that people don't ask in the beginning. and they're
I
very
understand that,
personal
but
questions.
let me say this.
Go
I
ahead.
think you should connect with that person before you get familiar with that person. I want to see if I can connect because I might need to be comfortable with you asking me these type of questions. You know
And,
what
and,
I'm saying?
and it says it in the book that if you want to stop, you can stop. Because that's what happened to me.
Hmm.
When the person brought the book to me and I was looking through these questions, I was like, I don't want to answer this.
You
Like,
know
I
what?
don't,
We got to do a show on it. We need to
huh?
do. We need to find that book and do a show on that.
Oh, the person who I know who's a codified person who lives, dies, and breathes the code. Oh, yeah, he'll get on here all day and talk for like 10 hours about the code.
All right, that's cool. That's cool. We're definitely going to experience that. But I swear to God, I gotta let you go.
All right. Thanks
I
for coming
peace,
through.
blessings, sister, and I'll make this up to you. Promise.
No problem. All right. Bye bye.
Peace.
All right. So let me see. The problem is all non white people worldwide have the RWs has. I'm not really sure what you're saying. White people worldwide have the I don't know what RWS means. Okay. So since Shano had to go, Shano and I talked about this show before we got on it, and I kind of was telling him about why I chose the title and what the show's going to be about. And so he's not here to talk further about what he said, but I will tell y'all what he said. And when I was telling him about a lot of, hold on, Christine, you don't want to be sexual first. You want to not have to say, I don't know. Yes, you sound like a codified person. You need to know as much as you can about the person. Yes, the codified person I know says that you do not want to tell your partner, well, I did not know. Yeah. So I get that part. Racist whites. Okay, got it. Okay. So I was talking to Shano and I was talking to him about why Black men don't disclose their past trauma in their relationships with their partner. Um, and he was saying that they don't do that because Black men, basically in so many words, they don't want to be vulnerable. Don't want to look like they're weak. They don't want to look like they're a punk, something like that. And again, I can't talk further about what his thoughts about that because he's not on here. But just let's get that little bit. We have a Black man here, and he won't tell his partner of a year about trauma that has happened to him because he don't want to feel like a punk. You know, the relationships that I go for, I want a mature, healthy, honest relationship. Now, might be some Black women out there that if their dude tells them something personal that happened in their past, maybe in an argument, I get thrown in his face, or she might look down on him. That means that she's not mature, and she doesn't really know what a healthy relationship is. In a healthy relationship, your dude should be able to cry in front of you, and you do not think he's less masculine. In a healthy relationship, you should be able to build that trust where you can tell people about your past. So there's some type of disconnect when it comes to Black men in that area that they can't. And y'all might get. So again, I listen to Cynthia G. So I'm gonna use a little bit of Cynthia G's lingo. Um, and this is just honest. Compared to white man, Asian man, other men, Black men have, like to be called kings, but they have no kingdom. Like, where do they don't. So in saying that, sometimes I believe their self-esteem being in this particular environment is kind of being weighed on. And so when they enter this relationship, I think that they're just so guarded, they don't understand how to let that go. Especially if you meet the right woman that can understand about past trauma and disclosing those things to her. And that's all about trusting her, you know. But I believe that in this type of environment, it's very hard for the Black man to really just let his guard down, and especially with even with his woman, and that's sad. I love when I see couples together or have run across somebody that, hey, Danny, let me pause real quick. Let me see what Danny's saying. We're taught not to show weakness. We are taught to believe if you are vulnerable and show weakness with a romantic partner, she will lose attraction for you. Yes, Danny. So, and that's sad. That's sad. Now, I don't want a feminine man, but as I grow as a woman and as I grow as a person, I understand men have emotions too. And I had, who was that? Somebody told me that a few years ago that really made me change my perspective, because I was one of those chicks where, a little while ago, where if a dude cried in front of me, it did do something inside of me, like, oh, he just, go cry to your mama type of stuff. But it took, I think it was a man who told me, like, he's like, we have feelings too. And him just simply saying that, I was like, it reprogrammed me. Where I've had men cry. I mean, masculine men cry in front of me, and it doesn't faze me like that anymore. I know at that point in time they need a hug. They need to just be set there with. But again, that takes growth and maturity. And some women out there have not grown and they're not mature because we're taught the same. So the men are taught, don't be weak around women and vulnerable because it's unattractive. And girls and women are taught that if a man is crying or appears to be weak, just because you cry doesn't mean you're overall weak. It does something to us too. And that's bad. That's just, excuse my French, I don't really cuss that much on here. That's fucked up. It's a messed up way of thinking. You know? Let's see, Christine, you don't ask if they don't want to answer. Then the best is not to start a relationship with the person is not time. Yeah, with the code. Christine, if I get my codified friend on here, I'm gonna make sure that I'll put the alert on early so you could come and chat with the code. He would love to chat with you since you know about the code. So yeah, so again, going back and thinking about men in my past, black men in my family, I know there has been trauma there, and it's something where they don't talk about it. So then again, you're getting this person who has had traumatizing. I mean, it could be from, and a lot of people think that like molestation and everything is mostly little girls. Oh, oh, he's here. Wait a minute, I'm gonna pause for a second. So Christine, Dr. Senq in the chat, he's the person I'm talking about the codified. I don't know. Do you want to come up in the panel, Dr. Senq? Let me know, and I could put the link in the comment section. Let me see if I can find it. Let's see. Copy this. And Christine, if you want to come up here too, you're welcome to come up here too. Let me paste it right there and send it like this. And boom, there we go. Yes, Dr. Senq literally knows the code from the front cover to the back cover. Oh, you guys know each other. Okay, so no introduction because y'all already know each other. So I don't know how long you've been listening, Dr. Senq, but I was just talking about how black men, a lot of their trauma that they have had, they refuse to talk about it with their partner. And then Christine was talking about the 200 questions in the code and how that brings out a lot of things before you get into a relationship with someone. But now, again, talking about our people, black people. I mean, I don't know how big the code community is. Okay, no problem, Christine. No problem. Um, but I mean, let's just be realistic. Black people as a whole, they're not going to sit up there and do 200 questions. They're not. Um, Especially if they just want to get a little freaky deaky that particular night. You know, is they're not. Even if that little freakiness turns into a relationship, I mean, it's sad to say, but people, we don't ask a lot of questions, and I have started that practice and preach to people when you're in a relationship to ask questions. If a question pops up in your head, um, ask questions, even though it might not be the 200 questions in the code. Ask, because again, if you don't remember, I think what Dr. Senku says from the code, if don't say you didn't know, right? But now the thing about it is, just say take the code away, take the 200 questions away. As a black woman with a black man, and Danny was saying, just men in general don't like to feel vulnerable and don't like to talk about past things that make them feel uncomfortable. What can be done to break that? Because I think it's very important, if you're in a serious relationship with someone, that they know your history. And the reason why I say that is because if behavior un I'm not gonna say unresolved, but if behavior comes up that is tied to past trauma, and your partner and you are working on each other, it'll be easier to understand the why this person said this, why the person act this way. I'll give you an example. So I was dating somebody, and when I would bring up a particular, like if just say he did something, and I would come very respectful and be like, hey, can we talk about? I need to talk to you about something. His initial reaction was to get very defensive before I even get the first sentence out. And he's ready to, I mean, he's ready. He's like ready to go to battle. It could be something, and it could be something. Most of the time, it was something simple. And so, after he did this a few times, and again, he never told me anything about any trauma from his past or anything. I had to sit him down. He actually told me about a previous girlfriend. And as you guys can see, I'm not a hood chick. You know, his ex-girlfriend was a hood chick. I think she did a few years in the pen or whatever. So I had to kind of be like a therapist, even though I'm not qualified to be a therapist. And I asked him, I said, because again, he told me a few stories about when they would get into it. And I asked him, I said, well, hey, when you guys would get into it, would she be yelling back and forth back at you? And would it be kind of like aggressive, an aggressive disagreement or discussion, whatever you want to call argument? And he said, yes. Yeah. So I had to tell him, I said, listen, I'm not her. I'm not her. When I talk to you, I talk to you with respect. I rarely ever yell. So the aggressiveness you're giving to me is what you learned from her. You learned that she's not going to come and talk to you like I talk to you. There's going to be an argument and degrading each other and see who could hurt each other the most. And so after I told him that, it's like it changed. Like he just didn't even realize that he was treating me how he had to treat her to protect himself. So again, the title of tonight is the topic, excuse me, Black Men, I See Your Damage. I think that's something that really needs to be worked on, honestly. And now again, I am an author. My book is called A White Man's Whore. You can find it on Amazon. And, I'm open with talking about how I've dated other races. And now, yes, I am going to compare. I've noticed that when I have dated white men in particular, they don't have a problem with talking about their past, and it's not all, sunshine and roses, like they'll tell you what happened to them. They'll even say, hey, I'm in therapy, but we don't do that. And something just popped in my head when Shannon was talking about how sometimes in a relationship somebody sees something because they're like that too. Just in our Black community, just again, therapy is just not a thing. And it's kind of something where if you're in therapy, you feel like you have to hide it because people go to the extreme that you're crazy. So let's see what's in the chat. It's finding a woman with emotional intelligence, excuse me, that shows you difference and understands my tears don't make me weak or less. Exactly. I think you're right. Emotional and intelligence. And I think it's the same way. I think it has to be developed on both ends, on the man's end and on the woman's end. Where they feel like they can be vulnerable with each other and cry and stuff and not have that backlash of like, man, you were a punk last night. Like, come on now. Let's see. Dr. Sin Q, I held in my emotions for fear of appearing weak until I was 36. Before that, I wanted to cry. I had to go to the bathroom or closet and cry in the dark. That is sad. That is sad. Yeah, that's something that the men who are watching this, who teaches you guys that? Is it society that teaches you to hold in those kind of emotions, your sad emotions, your fear? Like who, or is it your father, your mother? Who teaches you guys that? Effective communication is the key to any relationship. Yes, it is the key to any healthy relationship. The system of racism has made all of us insane, but there is levels of our insanity. Yes, white men have victimized white supremacy and standards for what a man is based on the role of white men, and we're not allowed to act like white men. Let me read that again. White men haven't been victimized by white supremacy. The standard of what a man is based on the role of white men, and we're not allowed to act like white men. Let's see. I've seen this. Okay, so Danny's agreeing with you. So it's society. So society creeps in. I don't have a son, so I don't have that to try to go against it. I have a daughter, so if she cries, she cry. If I cry, I cry. I don't have that. Let's see, what does Danny say? It's programmed from youth and what we see on TV. Men don't cry. We are not taught what to do, so we hide. Yeah. But I can guarantee you, if men were tapped into more of that sensitive side of them, again, not saying they're going to be, less masculine, but if they were able to express and say, hey, I'm scared, or hey, I'm hurt, I bet you a lot more relationships will be saved. I bet you'll be a lot less divorces. And also now, if you've watched a few of my videos, I try to keep things balanced. So if men were allowed to do that, our job as women is to allow them to do that. To not get that perspective that they're weak. To not look at them like a boy if they cry. So it takes two. All right. So anybody want to come up and let's see, join the panel? The link is in the comment section right there. Open panel, open panel. All right. So, again, I have a book called A White Man's Whore. And my book talks about interracial dating. It talks about the other side of interracial dating. It talks about what Black women should look out for if they do choose to date outside of their race, if they choose to date a white man. So if you are a Black woman listening and you are thinking about dating outside of your race, thinking about dating a white man, please get my book before you do that. I have I've interviewed other Black women, and I have my personal stories in there, and it'll just help you get a different view of dating white man. And I've had white men read my book, it thrills me, that they're interested in the perspective, my perspective, and other Black women that I have talked to, their perspective on interracial dating, and also the brave women who've shared their stories with me, and me being a brave woman sharing my story and putting my business out there in the street. So please get that book. And also, I do one-on-ones, and I don't have my information in the description, but I can give you guys my phone number. Give me a second. And I will put it in there. Once I'm done with my live, I will put my phone number in there, and I will explain what I do one-on-one. So, come on now. So, get a paper, a pen, get your cell phone. And actually, I'll put my number in the comment section. All right. So, this is my phone number, and I do one-on-ones. And what I do for my one-on-ones is Black women who choose to, or who wants to date outside of their race, and they have nobody to talk to. And some people might say, that's crazy, they have no one to talk to. Even though the media is showing that, a lot of interracial couples, Black women with white men, it's according to what area you live in, it's not that popular. It's really not. So the Black women who do go outside and date outside of their race, and they have no one to talk to because none of the other Black women around them can relate to them, I can. I've been there. So I do one-on-ones, and you can text me if you're interested in making an appointment. Or if a Black woman, if you are in an interracial relationship right now, and you just need some advice or someone to talk to about problems that are happening in it, or you can go ahead. And I see you, Dr. Sinq. I'm gonna let you up in a minute. Go ahead and hit me up. If you are a white man and you date Black women and you need someone to talk to, please, I do one-on-ones also. My number is in the comment section, and when I'm done broadcasting live, I will put my phone number in the description, 916-883-1133. And Dr. Sinq, boom, hi.
Hey.
How are you doing? I like your hat.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm okay. I'm still learning.
Yes.
Doing well considering the circumstances. Why did I come on? Oh, so I wanted to say that it's a struggle. The whole so at least for me, the pressure of not crying came both from my mother and my father. I remember my mother always referring to me when I would cry. She would say, "You're too soft. Stop being so soft." And my dad, it's hard. It's really hard to it's really hard to like put it in words, because there was actually a lot of nonverbal communication that was given to let me see that that behavior was not tolerable, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I just remember getting to the point to where if I felt like crying, I could not allow anyone to see me cry. And then it got to the point, like even now, sometimes it's to the point where there's a situation that I'm feeling like I need to cry, like I can feel it, like I really need to cry, but I just can't cry. Like I can't, I can't get it out. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But it all centers around, it definitely centers around this manhood thing, right? Which is why if you know in the past with conversations you've had with me, I don't refer to Black males as men. Okay, I don't refer to Black females as women. Just based on my own observations
Mm-hmm.
of how we function in the system of racism, white supremacy. It just does not seem, it doesn't appear to me that, it appears to me that we have limits.
Okay.
There are limits that are placed on how far we can take our behavior.
Please explain, if you don't mind. Please explain, if you don't mind, the limit. Like,
okay. Well, for example, if I get into a confrontation,
okay,
and someone calls law enforcement,
mm-hmm.
right? Law enforcement lets me know immediately that I don't have any power to defend myself against them. I don't have any power to defend myself, or to defend my loved ones against them. It lets me know really quick. And for me, lacking in that ability is the reality of not being a man, because what a true man has the ability to do is to protect themselves and their loved ones. That's what a true man has the ability to do.
So I have a question for you real quick.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if you're familiar with Cynthia G. She's a vlogger.
Oh yeah, I'm familiar with.
So she basically says that Black men aren't men because they have no power and because they don't protect anything. Do you find that to be true?
Absolutely.
Okay, so what word do you use in replacement of man, and what words do you use in place of woman when you're referring to Black people?
Male and female.
Okay. So so even though I have the parts that, to make a baby, and I have these parts, I'm not a woman.
No.
Okay.
Not under the system of racism, white supremacy. As long as the system of racism, white supremacy exists,
Mm-hmm.
no.
Okay.
Because that's the one thing that's in the way of allowing you to be all that you could be, to be a mother, to be a woman. That's the one thing that gets right in the way. And it's a difficult thing to look at. But if you go back, wait a minute, because I'm 50, so I can't even say go back 50 years. You have to go back 60. If you go back 60 years, or 70 years, it was a lot more open and it was much more recognized by our people as the truth, because those limits were right in our face. These days, it's a lot more refined. It appears to me it's in a way to there's a lot of lying going on. There's like a whole lot of deception that's going on that causes us to lie to ourselves. And at least for me, one of the main reasons why it was difficult for me to even recognize my own emotions was because I kept lying to myself. And that a lot of that it centered around this whole manhood thing. And what happens is, at least for me, I would get caught up in this process of constantly trying to prove myself to be a man, but it feels like I'm filling up a bottomless pit because no one is actually treating me like a man should be treated. No matter how much I demand it, no matter how much I say it, I don't know if you ever seen those. You ever seen those? The brothers in the civil rights movement. They were walking. They had walked around with the signs. It was "I am a man."
Mm-hmm.
You shouldn't have to come out with a sign to tell everybody you're a man if you're a man, right? But it has to be acknowledged. It has to be said. And even though it's been said, there's still more people in the world who don't recognize it. So it's kind of like like treading water, so to speak. But anyway.
So I have to ask you a question. How do you feel what's the state right now of the relationships between Black men and Black women, like in partnerships?
Terrible.
Terrible.
Absolutely terrible.
And why do you think that is? I'm going to pick your brain.
Because we're not honest with each other.
Okay.
We're not honest with each other about what's really going on in the world. And we're not honest with each other with the reasons why we're at war with each other. Like, the reasons why we're at war with each other are not our reasons. They're beliefs and ideas and concepts that belong to the other people, and they gave it to us, and we just constantly just get caught up in it. Like, in your book, right, how you talk about the Disney stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That fantasy
fairy tale,
the fairy tale, that has a whole lot to do with it. That has a whole lot to do with the whole belief in our minds. Like, I can remember when I thought I was a man and I kept striving to be, my whole objective, I wanted to be that knight in shining armor that would come and sweep my lady off her feet and be able to have so much money that I could provide her with the best wedding she could ever have. And, I wanted to be able to, and then, one day when the reality set in that wasn't going to happen, it was like, okay, well, what next? You know what I'm saying?
So I've heard it being said that, now I'll give you my stance, where I stand in the street with this particular thing. I would love to see every Black woman paired up with every Black man, and living a healthy relationship. But ratio wise, that's not going to happen. So I've heard people say, because of what you just said, because of white supremacy, and because of how Black men are treated in this country, in this world, that they are not men. And that's what you just said. So if Black men are not men because of the system put together, what do you say about Black women? The Black women, just say if it's 3-1, 3 Black women to 1 Black man. What do you say about the 2 Black women that cannot find a Black partner, going to a non-Black partner if she desires to be married or have a partnership, because of the ratio, and because also it's been said, because of white supremacy, Black men cannot really be men or protectors?
So what I say to her is to hang in there and get with the black male or the non-white male, and so they can work together to provide the support that they need to each other, to one another, so that they can work together to replace the system with a system of justice, so that they can one day truly be what we call, so what the code calls them is universal man and universal woman. That's the objective. The objective is to make sure that every single person on the planet can be universal man and universal woman. So white women and white men have the ability to be white men and white women because the system functions in a way that helps them do that, right? Not just black males and black females, all non-white males and all non-white females do not have the ability to function according to the code. And, you know, that I agree with that. Of course, you know, difference of opinions, right? But according to the code, none of us have the ability to function as men and women as long as the system exists. But the code says that we should work together to provide support to one another, to help each other solve our problems to the best of our abilities until we you know, make a change, you know, make a change with the system. So I guess it would be an example more like the black female and the black male working together against the white man and the white woman who choose to practice racism, right? So we work together as a support system, you know, a unit, to, you know, to do the best we can to do that. But
So the two black women who are not paired with a black man because it's not enough, are you saying to pair with non-black men and try to still go after the system to try to suppress white supremacy? Is that what you're saying, or did I hear that wrong?
absolutely, sure. If they're non-white people, you know, if you're a person classified as non-white in the system of racism, white supremacy,
No,
that's all that matters.
Sorry, a non-black person. Excuse me, I said that wrong. So the two women will be the two black women who are left over would be with a non-black person. Excuse me, non-black person. If I didn't say that right.
Okay, a non-black person.
Yes. Are you saying that
If it's a non-black person that's not a white person, then they are a non-white person. Yes.
come on, Mexican is Mexican? I know sometimes that's the debate.
Some Mexicans are white people. Some
Yeah.
Mexicans are non-white people.
Yeah.
So non-white people, a non-black person, if that non-black person is classified as non-white, then it's okay.
Okay. But so you're saying if the two black women over here who don't have a partner, if they pair with a white man, they're doomed.
Yes,
Okay.
most likely, because the white person is most likely a racist, and they are going to be mistreated on the basis of their skin color. They're going to be a toy. That black person is going to be a sexual toy for the white person. Now, I've questioned white women. You know, did you know that I've dated white women?
Yes, you've shared the story with me.
Okay. So
Yes.
I've questioned some white women. Every white woman that I've questioned about why they date black males, they've explained it without even, I mean, it seems to me like, I mean, they were so honest with what they said that I'm just going to say what they said to me. Okay. They only dated black males because they were the women that white men didn't want. So I highly suspect that the white men who date black females or the white men who date non-white females are dating them for the same reason. They are white men that white women don't want.
I don't agree with that. Now, I do agree with some of the white females that go after black men. Um, especially the ones that have that regularly date black men. I think you and I've had this conversation before that kind of like it tarnishes them in the white man's eyes. They're like just done for.
That's right. Once you go
Um,
black,
yeah, and there was a lady that did a video that was saying something like that, and she was also saying when a black man approaches her, that's not really on like it's not an honorable thing for her to talk to him. But if a white man does, it's more honorable. But I think that white men that go after black women, of course, they have different motives, and I have that in my book, and I also categorize white men in 3 different categories. I do believe that a lot of them do or are like, how can I put it? It is a fantasy thing. I'm talking about white men and black women. You know, um, I forgot where I was going with this. But okay, it's different. So I don't believe that a lot of the white men who date black women, they're just leftovers. I don't believe that. I don't. I think again, you're talking about a white man who's the most one of the most powerful males, I'll use your word, on in this country is white males.
they're the most powerful men on the planet.
Okay. I didn't want to go there, but you said it. So I think it's harder for them to be leftovers unless they're like, I mean, even yeah. And again, it's the class that you're going after. And again, in my book, I've already disclosed that I've dated white men. And a lot of the white men that I have dated, they weren't the bottom of the totem pole. It wasn't that they couldn't get a white woman or a Mexican woman or an Asian woman. So I think it's a little bit different when white women versus when white men go outside of their race and do that.
Now, the white women and non-white women or non-white females that they had access to, were they sophisticated?
So you're saying the non-white women that they have access to, were they sophisticated?
The white women first. The white women were the white women that these white men
Mm-hmm.
that that you had interaction with
Mm-hmm.
that wanted them. Were they sophisticated? Were they like worldly? That were they highly educated?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Wealthy,
Yeah.
exposed.
Yeah. You're talking about the white men, the access of white women they had access to. Were they, yeah, absolutely. They weren't I call them bottom feeders. No, they weren't bottom feeders at all.
Okay. Well, that's interesting. That's very interesting.
But then
I've never been able to have that kind of conversation with those guys. I know those guys that you refer to as flavored.
Yeah.
At least the ones that I've met, all the flavored white guys because I grew up with plenty of those kind of guys.
Mm-hmm.
And the women, the white women that I knew, that they had access to were not sophisticated at all. They were, I've heard white people refer to the flavored ones, as trash. I've heard them refer to them as the trash.
But it's also what your idea of flavored is, because most of the time when I describe what flavored is, before I really get into detail, they're thinking about
like
M&M.
a vanilla ice type dude.
Yeah, I wouldn't date vanilla ice.
Okay.
So to me, it's more of a mindset. So it's more of experience. I've met white men that I would classify as flavored, corporate America type of jobs. Look like just a regular old white man. But then when you start talking to him, his experience, he was raised around black people, but he's not like, he doesn't have that kind of like swag to him. He's just an old regular white person, but it's his history and it's not catching him up on anything. If I wrap my hair up, it's not like, why'd you wrap your hair up? If I talk about collard greens or anything that has to do with black or like even music, is not catching him up because he's so familiar with it. So I would categorize him as flavored. I can even talk about white supremacy. and having a conversation where it's not something where I'm upset at the end of the day because he's been around it for so long. So he's classified as flavor, even though he doesn't look like it. So those type of men, yeah, they can go after a high class, upper top or white woman. Yeah, they could.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Well, I can just say that, you know, as far as those emotions go, that's been a real tough thing. And I know that the television was like one of the main sources of me learning how to be, you know, what a man was like, you know, like the six. I remember the $6 million man. I wanted to be like the $6 million man, and uh, Superman and Batman, and
All the white men.
that's it. That's all there was. I mean, you know, the closest thing I can remember to, you know, there was James Evans. You know, you know, Good Times.
That's why I'm doing that face because he was not. I mean, yeah.
James Evans and
Yeah.
JJ, and George Jefferson,
Uh-huh.
who wanted to be like them. I mean,
Yeah.
those, but that's what we had. That's
Yeah.
what we had. You know, I mean, you know, when I finally saw, you know, Sidney Poitier, you know, in some movies, he gave me the, you know, when we used to, so growing up, right? See, in the neighborhood that I grew up in a, it was pretty, when I moved there, it was a white neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Oh, over the years, as more non-white people moved in the neighborhood, the white people started moving out. Right. Now, the white people who couldn't afford to leave, they stuck behind. They stayed behind with the rest of us and ended up, you know,
Turning
but
flavored.
yeah. But before them, when we would play, you know, we played Cowboys, and you know, the first cowboy movies that I saw was Clint Eastwood. You know, there was Clint Eastwood and there was Charles Bronson. You know, those are the two roles that I remember the most. Or Charlton Heston and what's that other dude? Chuck Connor, I think his name was, but and John Wayne.
Uh-huh.
These are the only images of cowboys that we had to play, right? So when we would play Cowboys, everybody would put pressure on me. If I wanted to be Clint Eastwood, you can't be Clint Eastwood. He's white. You're not white. I'm Clint Eastwood. Okay. You know, sometimes every now and then I could get away with being Charles Bronson because everybody thought Charles Bronson might be a non-white person or something. He played a lot of, you know, Indian, Native American roles or whatever. So every now and then I might be able to get away with Charles Bronson, but that would be a fight too. So pretty soon, you know, Cowboys, we playing Cowboys, and I just got to be me, which, you know, wasn't, you know, at the time that wasn't the best thing to be. If everybody else is, you know, we could see, you know, you can pretend to be Clint Eastwood and he's a good shot, and you know, so then when Sidney Poitier came out, I think the first cowboy movie I saw him in was Buck and the Preacher, which was, you know, still a goddamn some silliness, which is usually the roles that they allow us to play. But Sidney Poitier was playing the serious role, right? Harry Belafonte was the damn fool a little bit, but when I seen that, I was able to finally have a little bit of confidence in what it was to be a man. But it was real. Sidney Poitier's role was real. It wasn't versatile. It didn't have a whole lot of, the role wasn't versatile. Like, you know, Clint Eastwood, you could see him and he's doing all kinds of stuff. He's saying all kinds of stuff. He's expressing himself in all different kinds of ways.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And there was that pressure. you know, even when Star Wars, I remember when Star Wars came out, and all the kids, we were all trying to, you know, play Star Wars, and I had to be Darth. Everybody wanted me to be Darth Vader because Darth Vader was black. He sounded black. He had a black man's voice. They made sure he had the deepest black man's voice on the planet, so there was no distinguishing that he didn't sound black. And then he was actually black, and he was evil. So that was the pressure. I had to be that, while, you know, everybody else gets to be Han Solo and Luke Skywalker, and, you know, you understand what I'm saying? So that whole that thinness of a way. Even then, I remember I made up my own dude, my own character, whatever. But I'm just saying that having those really narrow roles of what a man is supposed to be like, a black man, because, you know, nobody wanted me. I couldn't just be a man. I had to be a black man. It's that everybody always wanted to make sure that I was reminded that I was black.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then at home, like I said, with the pressure of those that, you know, you can't be soft, you know, don't be weak. And, you know, you got to work as twice as hard as white people do. And, you know, all this kind of stuff that I used to hear in the household. It's just absolute. Oh, whew.
Yeah. I mean, I think even as a black woman, I don't like calling myself black female. I would say black woman.
Right.
So
what you want.
Yeah.
Your opinion, my opinion.
It was kind of the same thing too. I remember, you know, I was kind of real soft emotionally, you know. Hey, Will. Well, I think it's Will 3. Hey, salute to you too. I remember, like, in first or second grade, you know, little simple things would make me like tear up. And kind of like what you said, I would go run and hide, you know, go in the bathroom, you know, try to do some weird stuff, you know.
You had to be the strong, independent black woman, right?
Because that's what I saw my mom. You know, my mom is like, if a tear came out of her eye, it's something really going on, and it's gonna go away like that. It's not gonna be a 2 minute, 5 minute cry. It's gonna be get out the way, keep on going. I had to teach myself, even as I gotten older, that it's okay. That if something's affecting me, it's okay to cry in front of somebody. I mean, especially these past few years, I've really perfected that. My sister is like my best friend, and I call her like, let me tell you what happened. I mean, that's just and it's crazy because, like, even my friends, my other black female friends, it's like when I've kind of broken that seal, now they feel comfortable to do it with me. Now they'll call, oh girl, you got 10 minutes. Yeah, I got 10 minutes. You know, then we go back to normal. So I had to teach myself, you know, it's okay, even in front of my daughter. Some people might say that's not okay, emotionally healthy wise, but I feel it is. If something's bothering me and my daughter's here, instead of me sitting up here running in the room or running in a closet, I cry. And tell her why. It might just be because hell is life. That's why I'm crying.
Right.
Life.
That's it.
So, but it's crazy because even my daughter, she's 11, and it's hard for her to watch me cry. So it's already handed down to that generation, you know. And she'll tell me incidences where she's with the other parent, and things have happened, and she'll tell me that she went somewhere and cried. But now with me, you know, she'll just cry right in front of me. But again, when I cry in front of my child, it makes me feel even worse because it's like she doesn't know how to accept that mommy is human. Mommy has emotions. Sometimes mommy gets sad for a little bit, but I bounce back, you know.
Right.
So,
she will.
Yeah.
She will. The more she sees it, you know, because it's the reality.
Mm-hmm.
It's the reality. I think to me, I believe that the system has taught us to not be real, to not be true because the system doesn't see us as humans. The system doesn't recognize us as humans. And anytime you as a Black person want to get close to acting like a human, it's it's like it has to be hidden, or it can't be it's just like, it just feels like there's like a whole lot of pressure to be somebody that you're really not.
Mm-hmm.
There's a whole lot of pressure for that. I know, for at least for me, there's a whole lot of pressure right now at this point in time. I just don't give a damn. So there's not a whole lot of pressure anymore for me to try to be. No, I take that back. The pressure is still there, but I'm developing a way of not caring about the pressure, because I'm fighting to remain honest with who I am, but it is a struggle. And it's especially, it is a struggle. It really is a struggle around your around the offspring, right? Because even amongst my with my son, I sometimes I do struggle with that in that I like, sometimes if I show emotion, I wonder, I'm like, man, is he gonna think, does he think I'm a weak dad? Does he think I'm sometimes that does cross my mind, but I still just roll with it, and I think that it's gonna help in the long run, because it's gonna, what you're doing is going, you're going to be helping your daughter. You're helping her to be able to accept the reality that crying is okay. Crying is extremely okay. I mean, if it wasn't meant for us to cry, then we wouldn't cry. You know what I mean? But it's like, I mean, can you imagine like when you like how you feel after you've had like a really, really good cry, like you just like, oh, one of them deep,
like, oh, it's out.
Cry. And when it's over with, and you just feel like, oh, you just feel so relieved, right?
Yeah.
Because crying really is like it's like an inner cleansing. It's like a way of really cleansing what's inside, and just getting all that emotion out, just letting that go, and being able to just release, And I just don't, I know when I was, like I said, when I was growing up, it just was not something that you did. And I think it was a book I read. Maybe it was a book I read that talked about, being able to let your emotions go and all that. And I see how it affected my first marriage. That relationship, it highly affected that, because she always talked about, like, don't you show some emotion? Can't you just open up? And I just couldn't do it. But anyway,
and that was like the main topic of the show. I mean, the title is Black Men, I See Your Damage. And again, I try to be balanced when it comes to women and men. I know as Black women, we're not hitting all the marks ourselves. But I find that it's very hard for Black men to talk about their emotions, or to show those sides of the emotions. It seems like it's either like a nothingness, or it's anger, or it could be love too. But just like, if something's bothering them, and they have some type of sadness, or like I said, past trauma, like I said, I've dated so many black men, and I'm saying black men because when I've dated white men, it seems like they're more open with their emotions or their past traumas. When I've dated black men, I dated someone for a while, and he's never told me anything about his past trauma. And we all have past. I mean, some of it's minor, some of it's more severe. But it's, for me, that's kind of when you really start getting to know somebody. Like I was saying before, like if something comes up and they have this reaction and they shared with you about their past trauma, now you know. But it's so hard in that relationship. And again, with myself, where I work on myself, and a lot of and my partners in the past, I try to share about my past in small doses, but I share, but I don't get anything back. So
there's a fear.
Yeah, then
it's
it turns out that they know all these things about me, and I barely know anything about their past. And so then when they act out, I don't know why you're acting out. I don't know what made you act this way. Give me a reason. They can't. I don't even know if they know the reason. Right.
It's a fear, though. There's a fear that black males are taught to have about making themselves vulnerable, right? Because opening themselves up and sharing with you their trauma is connected to being weak. It's like if I open myself up to you, now I'm giving you something to use against me later.
And there are some women and men that do operate that way.
Right. And a lot of men are taught to be mysterious, right? To remain a mystery, like being a mystery and remaining a mystery, and keeping her on her toes is that's gonna keep her, because if you open up a hole, she's gonna get in there and she's gonna dig all in that hole, and she's gonna make that hole big. She's gonna get all the way in there and just mess you all up, and before you know it, you don't know who you are no more. Right? That's what's being taught, right? So going back to those 200 questions, that's where all of that happens first. See, because I think we have it backwards, right? It seems to me the pattern is have sexual intercourse first, then start getting to know each other, right? But after a month or so, maybe 2 months, we'll give it 6 months. 6 months, lovey-dovey and all that. Then all of a sudden, it's like, tired of you. I gotta see you this morning.
Yeah.
And then there's this, like I said, you start to see things, you start to learn things about them that you didn't know. Right? And you say, wait, I didn't know you like to, it could be something weird, you know what I'm saying, that they like to do that. I don't know, maybe they prefer to just fart around you or something instead of, I don't know, instead of just going to the restroom or something, or it could just be some little thing that disgusts you that you didn't know about them 6 months ago. But now, you two have, made this commitment to be with each other, and now you found something that you don't like about them. And then the same thing about them finding something about you, or even the relationships, your past relationships. I've met people who, when they find out that I've some Black females that I've been with who will find out later that I've been with white women in my past.
Yuck. Ew. No, I'm playing. You're ruined now.
But I'm just saying, like, it's it could be like that. So when you get down to those questions, it doesn't have to be a whole 200 questions. It doesn't have to be, I mean, Mr. Fuller suggests 200 because it's like it when you start to think about it, now you've questioned, you've asked the person so many questions that by the time you're done, you kind of got a really good idea of who this person is.
And where they came from, like past trauma and stuff.
Huh?
That you get to kind of dig into their past trauma and where they've been.
Right.
Okay.
That's right. You not just but not just the trauma. That you're gonna learn. You learn the positives and the negatives about the person. So the questions are not. You can come up with your own 200 questions. You don't have to. They don't have to be the ones that are in the code. They could be questions that you have come up with that are just based on your past experiences, your past relationships. Well, okay, you know what? That last guy I dealt with, he liked to sleep with his dog, and I want to make sure that this next one. So one of your questions, you got a dog? Mm-hmm. Yeah. You and what? How does you and your dog? Do you and your dog eat out the same bowl? Or
God.
I know people that have done that. I had some friends that I grew up with that.
That's
they
why I had
shared.
to get rid of him.
What'd you say?
So that's why I had to get rid of him.
Yeah. Okay.
It shocked me. Yeah. It was a non-Black person. If you're
okay, well, see, so something like that would be,
yes.
Why wait until you've already had sexual intercourse with the person and then find out that them and their dog are best friends and they like, you know what I'm saying? Like, then you'd be like, well, damn, that's one of the ththings I don't like about the person, right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Or it doesn't have to be that, though. It could be anything. But you just base your questions off of your past experiences, or even hidden. If I watched your last show, you said for the first time you were involved in a domestic violence situation, right?
Yep.
So even that, right? That could be one of your questions that you ask the next person. Have you ever hit your significant other before?
So the person that I'm talking about that gave me the badge of being in a relationship, a domestic violent relationship, that actually did come up. And I actually did ask.
You asked them before?
Before sex?
Yeah.
No, it was not before sex. It was before they put their hands on me. And they told me that they did. But of course, the kind of person they are, they had a whole backstory. Who knows if it was the truth or not? But the answer is yes. They were saying they were defending themselves. So they made it sound like, oh, okay, you were defending yourself. So the question was asked. Okay.
Yeah. Well, see here, to me, after the sexual intercourse, there's kind of a bond. There's kind of a connection that's made. Have you ever known, like, I'll tell you, have you ever been in the presence of a man and a woman, or male and a female, and you could tell by the interaction between them that they had been intimate? Have you ever been able to?
Yes, and I've done that in too.
So
yeah.
After the sexual intercourse, it's like there is I'm thinking that there's, maybe it's because of the exchange of energy that's happened. There's just a different type of connection. There's a close connection that's never going to go away after you've had the sexual intercourse with that person. Even if you can't stand that person, right? 20, 30 years could go by and somebody could point you guys out that I'm the only reason why I know this, because this happened to me about 5 years ago. Okay. I was at where the hell was I at? I was at a cousin of mine was a maintenance. He had a garage where he worked on cars, and I was there with him, and I seen a lady that came. She came there, and her and I had sexual intercourse like 30 something years ago. Like it was a long time ago. Okay, and my cousin could tell, right? I didn't hug her. I didn't, we didn't get all close up on each other, nothing. But he could just tell. He said, "Man, you and her, you guys was." I was like, "What? How did you know?" He said, "Man, because I could tell. I just know how to tell." And after that, it occurred to me that I guess, because it never crossed my mind. But I'm just simply saying that there seems to be some type of connection that comes after that. What does he say? Oh, he said, look, he's talking about it.
Yes. Your body is, yes, our bodies release pheromones and chemicals, which is what drugs
release. So you start to become addicted because of the chemical reaction. Oh, well, maybe that's a little bit different, but I just know that.
I mean, I think that could happen even before sex. Because sometimes if people have that kind of like, they like each other, but they have a chemistry. They haven't went there yet. Then it could appear that way.
Well, I've seen that too.
I've had that also, where people are like, "What's going on with you two?" And I said, "Nothing happened."
Right. No, I've seen that. You're right. But that chemistry, that to me is like an attraction. That's like a very open attraction that those two people share. That's a chemistry, right? But after the sexual intercourse, it seems like it like adds another level to that. Like it just adds another level to that. And I think that it kind of makes you feel a little bit more obligated to the person than you did before. If it's somebody you like, you've had sexual intercourse with them, you find out about something, you find some things out about them that you don't like, and you kind of just let it slide. You say, eh.
And then you're talking about when you're still involved with them sexually.
Right. After you've gotten involved with them sexually.
It makes you blind to things.
Right. As opposed to finding out ahead of time.
Yeah.
Right. So like with the guy that the self-defense thing could have been true. Right. But then, maybe the next question is, well, there might be some other details that you ask now to find out if it was really self-defense or not. You know what I'm saying? And then you make it clear. You say, well, look, I'm letting you know right now, I'm not tolerating none of that. The first time you hit me, it's over. Because that's in the code too. The code says that the first time somebody gets violent with you, they get physical with you, it's over. It's never going to be different after that.
Yeah.
Because they're going to think they can do it again.
Yeah. So anyone who's listening or listening after the live is over, Dr. Sin-Q is talking about a book called The Code. Did you want to talk? What's the name of the author again? I keep on forgetting. Dr. Is it?
Neely. His name is Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. He doesn't like to be called doctor. He's told plenty of people don't call him that. But Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. wrote the United Independent Compensatory Code System Concept, which is a textbook workbook for thought, speech, and or action for non-white people or victims of racism, white supremacy. And it's basically a book full of suggestions. He's almost 100 years old now.
He's still alive?
Yes.
Wow.
He's still breathing. He's almost 100 years old. And he's just made a lot of observations over the years of, he's seen a pattern. It's like a pattern of problems that constantly repeat themselves amongst non-white people. And so, he's just made up some suggestions to help us with those. See, we've never really had that. If you think about if you think about a lot of white people when it comes to relationships, they do exactly the opposite. They don't just jump right on in and have sex with each other and then start getting to know each other, right? Mm-hmm. Most of them do exactly the opposite. They spend a great deal of time trying to get to know the person. They want to know the person's family. They want to know all this. There's a whole background thing that they do when it comes to getting to know the other person that they're about to marry. If they're going to get with that person, it's like a whole rundown, at least the sophisticated ones.
Yeah.
So
do you I almost forgot. I'm going blank this tonight. See, I was going to ask you a question. So like we were talking about earlier about the dysfunction between the Black man and the Black woman. So if I ask you, what do you think that the cure is to that? Are you going to say the code?
Well, I can't say the code is the cure, but it's the start.
Okay.
The cure to it is going to be to end racism, white supremacy. That's going to be the cure. But the code kind of teaches us to work to recognize it as a work in progress, right? And to constantly be thinking about cause and effect as we work together in the process. I like what Dr. Welsing, you heard of her, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, she was a student of the code. She learned how to practice the code, but she was a actual medical doctor. So she's a real doctor, medical doctor, psychiatrist. And she suggested that Black males and Black females handle their relationships. And she referred to them as Black men and Black women, by the way. But she says that they should handle their relationships as if they are in foxholes.
Okay, explain.
Right. Okay, so in a war, a soldier, if they're out on the field, they build a foxhole around themselves as a form of defense, right? And so she says, so if the because the code's perspective is that we're in a war right now. All of us are prisoners of war. Okay, it's a race war, and we are the targets of that war. And so she says that each of us looks at ourselves as within our own foxhole. We've built up our own way of defense for ourselves as an individual. And when we want to be with one another, we're inviting the other one into our foxhole. Right. So mm-hmm. it's like you're working to share a foxhole together, but you're recognizing that at all times. And you're also recognizing that there may be a chance that it's not going to work out and you're going to have to go back to your own foxhole.
Okay.
See, because the system is constantly working to keep us at odds with each other. Mm-hmm. It's counterproductive. It goes against the grain of the system of white supremacy for the Black male and the Black female to be in harmony with each other. Mm-hmm. So it's constantly working at keeping us fighting with each other. And so it's like we stay mindful of that, and then we use the code to stay mindful and constantly work at doing what we have to do to make it work. But we're staying mindful of it. You know what I'm saying? It's like we're saying, okay, well, we're prisoners of war. We know that every day, y'all go to sleep and you wake up in the morning. So it's another day of war today. So what we're gonna do? How we're gonna work together in this war?
So here's a question. I was listening to some video on YouTube, and they were talking about Black men who date white women. And they were basically, the black man was saying that, yeah, it's, difficult for him being a black man and stuff and all the things that go along with being a black man. So he dates or he married or whatever, a white woman to try to relieve some of this stress. Um, what do you think about that? What do you think about people, black people who hook up or date white people because there's not that foxhole of you come in my foxhole, I go in your foxhole, or whatever you were just talking about.
That's what the system encourages us to do. We're taught to believe that it's better to be with them.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're taught to believe. And in a lot of cases, it can be.
Mm-hmm.
But it's only an illusion. It's not.
So where's the illusion? Because I have, and again, I truly believe that you don't know what goes on behind people's closed doors. Not unless you live with a couple and they get comfortable around you, then you can really say, okay, I see this couple's really making it work. So I'm just going off of he say, she say. I have heard some black women who have dated black men most of their life who switch over and go to a white man and end up marrying them, or have family members that have married a white man. And they were saying it's like night and day, where they actually are treated decent and they do get that respect. And it is a healthy relationship from what they're saying. So that kind of sounds enticing. So if that's what's being encouraged, to have interracial relationships, and these black women that I've heard over the past few years, especially since my book came out, that's really not a bad thing if they are truly happy. Or are you saying that they truly can't be happy?
Well, bottom line is it's still a matter of opinion.
Okay.
I can't, because I'm not in those situations. I can't, speak for another, black person who says that they're in it and they're happy.
Mm-hmm.
I can only go off of my own experiences when I've been in it. And I'm not going to lie. I was kind of happy too, in the situations that I was in. The last white woman I was with, but there was always these, the majority of the time it was smooth, but there was always these little situations that, again, let me know that I was black, right? It's not like I was trying to forget that I was black, but
it's reminders. Yeah,
there's these reminders. Huh?
I've experienced that. Yeah.
Yeah, there's these little reminders here. Now, I could have let those go and said, and I did in the beginning. I did. Every time there was a little thing from something, I ignored it. I let it go, and because I thought about the other, the other stuff that I was enjoying about the whole situation, right?
The benefits you were getting.
Huh?
The benefits? The benefits.
Yeah, right? What I felt like were benefits, absolutely. But those little things, they just kept piling up and piling up and piling up and piling up. And then I was like, this is just not going to work. I kind of felt like, have you ever seen the movie Get Out?
I have, yes.
Okay. When he went to the sunken place, I kind of felt like that. Like when I saw that scene, I was like really relating to that whole scene, because I kind of felt like that, because they just kept piling up. And it was like to this point to where I felt like I was like I was losing myself. Like I was just, everything about me. I just started to feel like I was losing myself, and I was just becoming a part of her world. Like I was just becoming a part of her world and an object, or just, part of her world. And there was nothing else. Like it was just like I had no more importance for who I was as a person. That just seemed like that was just going away. But for anybody else, I can't really speak for them, but I know that when I read the code,
Yeah.
and it talked about being a sexual object and a toy, and I started thinking about all the stuff that I remember I used to hear, what is it like being with a black man, and all this stuff that I used to think. And I said, okay, you know what? I could see how I could have been a sexual toy, a sexual object, but okay.
Yeah. Well, I had that in my book. I had that in my book where I talk about in my dating experience with dating white men, where I felt kind of like I had to go into their world, where them actually wanting to come into my world, they were too uncomfortable. They had no, they didn't want to. They had no urge of wanting to. So when I do talk to black women and they are thinking about doing that, um, I say that, you know, like with my one-on-ones, some people say that I'm promoting interracial dating, and people can say whatever they want to say. Um, Black women are going to, especially what's going on between black men and black women right now, they're thinking about it more and more. And some of them are taking that step and dating white men. Because I am a black woman, I would never look at another black woman and say, you better not do that. Even though we're taught that. We're taught you stick with black men.
Right.
No matter what they do to you, no matter if they cheat on you, no matter if they do whatever, you stick with black men. Um, Cynthia G calls it, black man worshipers. That's what black women or black girls are made to be, right? Um, so when I do my one-on-ones with black women, I tell them that stuff. I tell them, and especially the ones who are just dating white men and really haven't stepped off and gotten into a serious relationship, that it's a possibility that you might just have to go into his world. Can you handle it? Can you handle only having white stuff with your partner? Where if you do like to go to like black functions, you're either going to go alone, or if he goes, he's going to be so uncomfortable and you're going to be uncomfortable, or you're just not going to go anymore. That's things you got to think about. Or, I mean, again, they're rare to find the really flavored white men, the ones that aren't pretenders, the ones that feel comfortable, like real life. I feel more, again, I met only a handful that they say, I feel more comfortable around black people than white people. And they're not lying. Those are really rare. So I tell black women some of the things that they might have to come up against that they don't think about until you're in that situation.
Right. Yeah. Now, I don't want it to be like, so I'm not talking about like I was losing my sense of blackness, so to speak. Like, see, okay, so I didn't grow, how do I put that? I didn't grow up in a household where we had this, like my folks didn't, we didn't have cookouts and barbecues and parties and dances and stuff. My how do I say that? I guess they were kind of more conservative about, so it wasn't like I was, it wasn't like I meant losing myself, like me, right? Like I'm not defined by being black does not define me. Right? I would rather say I define what blackness is, right? For me, right? If you know, I'm just not. I don't. You know, if there's a group of people, if there's a group of black people acting a certain kind of way, and everybody's saying that's black, that's the way black people are, I'm pretty much gonna look at that and go the opposite. Just because somebody's saying that's what acting black is, or that's how black people have to be, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
it was your personal identity.
It was my personal identity
with being with her.
Just me, just being who I was, because it was like what they expected black people to be, like what her family expected black people to be, or how she expected black people to be. They kept trying to fit me into that, and that's how I was losing myself.
Because you're the token black guy in the house.
Yeah, that's it. There you go.
Because they can't be racist because they have a token black guy in the house.
Well, kind of, yeah. Because the thing was, is I remember.
I'm pretty sure they probably said that when you probably weren't around. You know, they're out and about. You know, some of her friends or family, whoever she had you meet, and they say something racist. They're like, no, I know Dr. Q. Like, I'm not, no. You know?
Could have. I know that she told me that her dad was a racist. She told me that. Like, she told me, because now she was slightly different. When I asked her how to, what got her into black guys, and she said she was mad at her dad. And
really?
that's what started her getting with black guys. She started dating black guys because she knew it would piss her dad off. And then I'm suspecting by the time she got to me, she was done pissing her dad off, I guess, because when I was going with the family, her dad was cool. He was a cool guy with me. Like I never sensed any, but again, that was before I learned about the code. Now that I know about the code, I know that. Huh?
She was using you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And there's really it just does not seem, what the code says is there's no way for if a victim of white supremacy is not actively studying what racism is and how it works, there's no way for them to guarantee that the white person that they're with is not mistreating them on the basis of skin color. There's no way to guarantee that if you're not investigating it all the time, if you're not studying it to find out what it is. Now, choosing it, practicing racism is a choice. At least according to the code, it is a choice. So, each victim of white supremacy, also because of victims' guaranteed qualifications, right? You have the power to choose who you want to be on your racist suspect list and who you don't. So if you're with a white person, all the black females that you sit down with and talk to about your book, and they feel like they want to be with a white person after your book, hey, so be it. That's their choice. That's their experience. That's what they want. And if the white person they're with, they decide to say, you know what? I hear all that stuff you guys are saying about white people, but this white man that I'm with right now, he ain't practicing no racism against me. Okay. That's the way it is. Yeah. But the only thing that, we say as those of us who practice the code is just to suggest, hey, be cautious, just be careful, right? That's one of the things I like about the code, because there's no like when I was in the Nation of Islam, okay, if I like when I was with her, when I was with the white girl, that was after the Nation, right? And I remember one night me and her had smoked some weed together, so I was a little paranoid, right? And we in Alaska, okay, and we were driving down the street, and I remember looking, and I saw these They were, when I look back on it, they were just a couple of black guys in tuxedos, but I
Oh,
seen the bow ties. I was like, oh no, the FOI, they gonna get me, they gonna get me. You know, that kind of pressure from the nation, you know, I just don't believe that black people should pressure other black people to do you know, to follow their own opinions and all that kind of stuff. It's just a suggestion. That's it. You know, so I think that it's a very constructive thing that you've done to be able to make the book that you've written and to be able to put your experiences out there. You know, if like I said, I'm not against you if your book is encouraging, even if you was encouraging black women, you know, to get with white men or whatever. If that's what you want to do, that's what you want to do. You know, all we can do is just exchange information and hopefully, you know, somebody gets something constructive out of it. And the bottom line is, if it solves a problem, that's it. You know.
Yep.
And I learned a lot from reading your book. I really did.
Well, thank you. Thank you. It's getting we're almost the 2-hour mark. I had a long day. I was been in San Diego for almost this whole entire week. And so I drove back up to visit my mom a few hours ago. So yeah, well, thank you so much for coming through. Thank you for answering some questions and teaching us about the code and giving your male energy on this topic. Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I wish I got on that last one that you had with Eliza D and
Yes.
Andre. I know that guy.
You
I
know
that
Andre.
guy. Yeah, well, we're Facebook friends. I can't remember how we met on Facebook, but we met on Facebook years ago. We used to, you know, communicate all the time about the same stuff that you guys are talking about. So
yes. So if you viewers that are viewing this, please like, subscribe, and also my book, A White Man's Whore. If you want to learn more about it or read it, go to Amazon, put A White Man's Whore, put my name, Minnie Alexander, in the search bar, and it'll pop up. Let me know what you think about it. And thank you again, Dr. Sen-Q, and everyone have a wonderful night.
thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Good night.
Good night.